Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes.
Hello again, everyone. Glad you are here with us at the Team Engagement Podcast. And as always, I'm excited to welcome our guest. This is Holly Stokes. She is the founder and CEO of the Brain Trainer out of Salt Lake City, right here in Utah. Holly, thank you so much for taking time to join me on the podcast. What would you like the audience to know about the Brain Trainer and what you do?
Thank you, Sean. Yes. So the Brain Trainer, I've been operating for 18 years now, and it's a way of recognizing what your brain is doing there, whatever habit pattern, problem, or challenge you have in life. There's probably brain habits that are either making it worse or making it better. So I rewire brains out of negative habits like anxiety, lack of motivation, scattered thinking, sabotage, and into focus, motivation, and achievement. You can actually train your brain to learn its way out of bad habits and to get on board with your goals and what you want to be creating in life.
Oh, I love that. It is so easy for any of us, especially as we get a little bit older. We keep forming those same thought patterns that disrupt things, then we kind of get in our own way. So I'm really glad that you're helping folks get out of their own way and continue to achieve goals and move on towards whatever definition of success a person has. But that's awesome. Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's jump to our questions then. Our first question, tell the audience a little bit about how a company can consider when they need to pivot and how they can do that effectively.
Yeah. So, we're all exist in these moving trends of our culture. Things are changing over time. One of the things we can rely on is change. So in really understanding where to pivot, how to pivot, I think the very first foundational element comes to knowing your audience. Knowing your audience and what's important to them, because they are the ones that are paying for your products or services. So the more that you recognize, okay, who is your audience? What is affecting them? And then being able to watch the trends. So now we're seeing AI come out in multiple categories, multiple ways, affecting many different industries. And, we can jump on board to make it better, but how is it affecting your client base? What are their thoughts and fears? The economy is always moving, shifting, adjusting. So really paying attention to who your base is, who you serve, and what is it that keeps them up at night. With all of these changes, through the window of COVID, if your client base is parents, well, their lives are hugely affected because they weren't sending their kids to school. So keeping in mind, who is your audience? What are their needs? And then also paying attention to the element of the trends of the time, and then finding your niche to navigate through that.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Yeah, it is definitely tricky, but that's some really good advice there. Okay, question number 2. Share with the audience one of your company's core values and how that value, or maybe one of those values, how it helps you make decisions.
Yes. So I would say the core value is empowerment. I am happy to work with people one-on-one and set up their mind to better habits, patterns, and programs to run automatically. But also, I really want to see people not need me anymore. I want to see them graduate from my services. And so that means training people, giving them the skills to do these things for themselves or to help other people. I really see that's a part of this ripple of how can we take charge of our mind and its habits and patterns? How can we be a part of this, expanding awareness, this growing wisdom in the world? It's more than just positive thinking. It's really about mastering our own minds and getting them on board with what we want to create for both ourselves, but also our communities and the family. And so when I look, I'm already running trainings now in neuro-linguistic programming, which you can learn the skills to work with yourself or work with your team, business owners. These skills are all about understanding the psychology what makes us tick, our underlying motivations. And then I also have started teaching hypnosis classes over the last 5 years. And this is all about how to really tap into understanding your own mind, these layers of how we operate, and being in charge of that at a more profound level, but also being able to help other people.
I like
So I
that.
would say, yeah, empowerment would be my
Yeah, I
number
really
one.
like that. That's a great value because that is what you're trying to do. And I love that you're willing to basically say, hey, I've helped you to the point where you don't need me anymore. And that's, for some, coaches, consultants, that is not what they're trying to accomplish. They want to engage indefinitely with the client. And there are, occasions where that's appropriate.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you're trying to create empowerment both for that individual as well as the people that he or she can then influence down the road.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
But I
great.
still have, life happens. So I still have clients come back to me after like 10 years, 15 years, but I would rather share tools that you can be more empowered on your own. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's a great way to look at how that value influences your decisions and how you work in your business and how you work with your clients. That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
question number 3. How do you, or what's one tip that you have for how people and employers can find and then hire talent?
That's a great question. So really understanding the human psyche in neurolinguistic programming, NLP, we talk about these as meta programs. And it's more like every individual, because of who we are, our experiences in the world, our brains kind of learn to prefer things in a certain way. Or perhaps we just came in, like some people just come in, like Mozart just came in with a musical talent, creating opera at 4 years old. Not, that's not the norm. But for everybody, we have ways that our brain prefers to operate. So for instance, somebody who's highly analytical, if being a tax accountant or something like that would work very well for them. Whereas a creative person would be kind of challenged by maybe, the rules of the tax thing. So, and those are kind of extremes, but when we start looking at hiring, you want to be really clear about the job definition. I've actually had a lot of people come into my office like, help, I don't understand my job and I'm having problems with my boss because I don't know what my job is.
Oh,
So just being really clear, about the job you want them to do, and then looking at the meta programs. I actually teach a class on this to understand people's meta programs and how to recognize what their preferences are. So here's an example. I hired someone who's pretty creative to work on my admin. This is just basic typing in emails. She did like 75% of them and gave me back this stack of papers that were all kind of convoluted that represented some of that creative thing. But having a creative person in your admin is not exactly the right fit. And then conversely, I also had the other way. I hired someone to do marketing, which needs to be a little more creative, especially with social media, pictures, words. And she's like, you got to tell me what to do. I just need step-by-step instructions. Give me exactly what you want me to say. And I'm like, here, just talk about this next class. This is the next one. Just figure it out. No, she would not. She was like, I just need specifics. So one, getting clear about the job and the description, getting clear about the tasks. What do you want them to do? And then is their brain kind of wired that direction, or are they going to struggle in learning a new skill set, or would somebody be a better fit? So then getting the right person in the right job.
Oh, I like that. And this next question is gonna dovetail very well with just how you finished that last part of your comments there. The question, just so the audience is kind of up to speed here, the question is, how do you develop strengths within your company? And so, Holly, when you consider that question and you're kind of continuing on, you've got the right person in the right seat, and you've discovered then how you want to have them work and whatnot. How do you help an individual, or how would you advise someone, a leader or whoever, to really help that person develop their strengths to continue to be successful in that job?
Developing strengths. So one thing that came to mind is often we're not aware, as business owners, we have lots of different areas to focus on that we have to be in charge of at once, and prioritizing things that make money. So I had a client who was a hairdresser. She had a little shop, and I asked her, oh, so you want to hire? She said, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, what would you have them do? Because she was just so busy and stressed. She's like, I'm gonna have them sweep the floor and clean up the place. I'm like, well, if we prioritize on jobs that make money, then you can free up more of that income to help other things to increase that flow. Kind of see it as a movement of flow. So in developing strengths, you can also use kind of that sense of how are things flowing in your business, developing strengths on the personal, the personal side or the employee side. What are they doing well, and what is their brain kind of wired for? So it would be, what are they doing well, and how can you give them more of things that they do well, rather than trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you're absolutely right. We have to be able to identify where those strengths are at. And I really liked your use of the word flow. And it should just be a natural flowing. It doesn't have to be a lot of resistance. In small businesses, not to get too far off on a tangent here, but in small businesses, what I hear from a lot of the folks that I'm working with, it's hard sometimes with a small team because there are going to be tasks that need to get done and somebody's got to do them. And you can't always fit all of those in there. But the encouragement, of course, is, well, then either balance those little tasks that maybe nobody wants to do and spread them out a little bit. But I really like that idea of flow, because we want to get there as often as we possibly can. It may not be 100%, but really try to be in flow as often as we possibly can, as much as we possibly can. And we, quite literally do the best we can. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
So I like that. Great
Well,
comment.
and that's how that machine works. It works
Yeah.
by flow. You throw a monkey wrench into the gears, and then things don't work. So
Starts falling apart there. Yep, absolutely. All right, fantastic. Last question. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
Yeah, so my first job, I actually I'd always kind of worked with my parents. They had greenhouses and hobby businesses. But my first serious job, I was really into wilderness survival. So I was going to classes out in New Jersey, of all places, learning about how to read the land, how to live off the land, fire sticks that create fire by friction. And I just loved it. I soaked it up. I'm like, this is it. This is everything. And then one night by the fire, so I'm watching the flames of the fire. And when we watch flames of fire, we naturally go into a hypnotic or meditative state.
Really?
Hypnosis, meditation, same thing. But this meditative state, and I'm like, I would just love to, hike outdoors, sleep under the stars, and teach these skills. I would just love that. Now, this is before internet. I know I'm dating myself here. There was no way to just jump online and find whatever you want, right? So anyway, synchronicities, when you know what you want, synchronicities in life will show up. So after this class, about a week after, my mom said, oh, I have a friend who's really into wilderness survival skills. He wants to come and talk with you and kind of compare notes. And I said, oh, great. I love meeting people who have the same passion. So we were talking and sharing, do you use this wood or that wood? And, talking about different notes. And he's like, oh, by the way, there is a backpacking therapy wilderness program about 60 miles from your house, and they're always hiring female staff. And I'm like, what? So that I did that for 10 years, hiked out in the woods, taught primitive skills, worked with at-risk teens, a lot of them working on self-esteem. And that actually led me to where I'm doing now, which is working with the mind and rewiring brain habits.
What a great first job. You are the first person. I think I've had camp counselor come up a couple of times, but I think you're the first one that has talked about wilderness survival in that description. That's really impressive. That is neat. What a fun, great job. And I love how it's now led into what you're doing now because you're able to help those at-risk teens, which is so important. So I'm really glad you had that opportunity, and it's obviously continuing on in your professional long-term career as well. Holly, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking time to share some of your nuggets and insights. I really appreciate that. How can people
So
find
much.
you?
Yes, I do have an upcoming book. So you can find out more information about that. Go to my website, thebraintrainerllc.com/book. You'll get the updates on the book, or you can go to thebraintrainerllc.com/free. And it gives you a few tips and tools about instant motivation with your brain, how to start rewiring it.
Oh, I like that. And thank you so much for being generous to just give things on your website. I always appreciate when people are willing to just give a little bit. So thank you for doing that. And
Thank
thanks
you.
to everyone who chooses to join with us on the Team Engagement Podcast each week. We look forward to seeing you again next week, and we wish you a great day.
This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. We also invite you to follow or subscribe to our podcast wherever you may be listening or watching. Is your business thriving? Go to tbs-score.com to find out. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.